In this video that I'm about to show you, Jordan Peterson gives a warning to conservatives. Essentially, he's saying that we may be doomed to follow the same path the progressives have followed with their craziness if we aren't careful. Here is that video.
I think that virtualization has enabled the psychopaths.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, well,
Without a doubt.
That's a terrible thing because the psychopathic types, they're always the death of everything. Like I'm seeing this come up on the right now. So imagine this. I've been working on a new theory of political psychopathology. And the problem is that 4 to 5% of the population, something like that, is cluster B, that's the DSM-5 terms, histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial, psychopathic, or they have dark tetrad traits. They're Machiavellian, they're sadistic. That's about 4%. Okay, so the question is, how do these people maneuver? And the answer is they go to where the power is and they adopt those ideas and they put themselves even on the forefront of that.
Right.
But the ideas are completely irrelevant.
Right.
All they're doing is they're the Pharisees. They're the modern version of the Pharisees. They're the people who use God's name in vain, right? As they proclaim moral virtue.
Yes.
Doesn't matter whether it's right or left or Christian or Jewish or Islam. They invade the idea space and then they use those ideas as false weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage.
Yes.
And so then you have the problem, and the right's going to face this more and more, particularly because the left had to face it when they were in powers.
Yes.
How do you identify the psychopathic parasites, 4% of the population, who are clothed in your clothing and waving your flags, but who are only in it for narcissistic benefit?
So that video blew up the internet a bit. Everyone on X and YouTube is talking about it. By the way, guys, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And you're going to have to tell me, how controversial do you really think that video was? Because for me, I just don't really see how controversial it was, even though everyone was saying it was. Peterson, basically what he's saying, he's done research on this. And again, this is his claim, not mine. But what he's saying is about 4% of the population is psychotic. They're leeches. They're bad actors. And so what he's saying is that if that's true for the general population, there is maybe 4% of the conservative movement that follows that prescription, that they're psychotic, they're crazy, they're not good actors, they're not true conservatives. And they're going to tear us down like the progressive movement has been torn down by crazy people with gender ideology and, racial woke crap. Because again, at one point in the progressive movement, about 4% of these people believe these things. And that 4% somehow brought this massive group of people together and convinced them that men could be women. I don't know how it happened, but I think it started with a much smaller subset of people than it is today. And what Jordan Peterson is saying is that could happen on the conservative side. And I just think that seems fairly uncontroversial. However, like I said, there have been some prominent voices that came out against Jordan Peterson. And the only thing that I can surmise from that is that those people felt called out in some sort of way from Jordan Peterson. And it's like this. Sometimes you're talking to people and you talk maybe about a certain kind of person that you don't really like, and then that person you're talking to gets defensive. It's like, I wasn't talking about you, dude. I was just saying, in general, there's probably people out there. And it's kind of like they're projecting a bit. Like when you see people talk in that fashion, you can tell that maybe they're projecting exactly what Jordan Peterson is saying onto themselves. Like maybe it wasn't about you, but maybe it is about you now. And I think that's what's happening online right now among conservative commentators. And this has real ramifications. This is why I'm talking about this. This has ramifications moving forward for conservatives. Because if we cannot acknowledge that there are crazies on our own side and that we need to weed them out, then we're going to end up with Harry Sisson or David Pakman in the conservative movement. And you don't want that. Nobody wants that at all. This is another clip I have to show you. This is of Jordan talking about that very thing that I just described.
How do you identify the psychopathic pretenders? And it's even worse now. And then make a barrier, right? Now, the right was calling for the left to do that for decades.
Right.
And they didn't, and they couldn't. And the left is not good at drawing barriers, partly temperamentally. The right is somewhat better, but there's no shortage of monstrosity there. And so then the question is, how do you draw the line? And that's kind of what because I've been watching these right-wing, they're not right-wing, these psychopathic types manipulate the edge of the conservative movement for
Right.
their own gain.
Right.
And a lot of that's cloaked in anti-Semitic guise. There's plenty of anti-Semitism on the left too, by the way. So it's not unique to the right.
Well,
but
particularly now.
yes, particularly now.
Right.
So it seemed to me that the conservative movement then has a tough dichotomy to juggle. On one hand, you have to be inclusive, and the reason why Trump has been so successful is because he has been inclusive. You got to broaden the coalition in order to win elections. You saw that a ton at the RNC back in like August, I think it was. You had Hulk Hogan, you had all these people, like reformed, porn stars, things like that, things that conservatives wouldn't have really been associated with. But you want to be somewhat inclusive because you want to show, hey, like, we're a party, we want to win elections, well, we're not elitist like Democrats, I understand all of that. But on the other hand, you do have to draw lines. And what Peterson is saying is that if we don't draw lines, then maybe you include people who aren't conservative at all. And that's my biggest concern. The problem with the conservative movement is that if it's not conservative, it's not the conservative movement. It just disintegrates. And I think Jordan Peterson's spot on with that. All the people out there who are most upset about Peterson saying there are psychos are not only the psychos, I think they are the psychos, but they tend to not be that conservative either if you really look at what they believe. I think it's a timely warning. I'm glad he talked about it. I think anyone who's offended by what he said are probably the exact psychos that he's talking about. If you guys enjoy reading, but you don't know what book to read right now, I wanted to introduce you to my book, A New Cult. It's up on the bookshelf over there. I talk about how the left has literally devolved into a cult. Talk about some crazy stories. I know you'll enjoy reading it. I had a great time writing as well. It's on Amazon right now. The link is in the description below. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. Please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. It helps spread my videos and the conservative message around. And you can check out another video right here.